Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Oh, there you are. Hi, guys. Welcome. My name's Playful David Calkins, and I do stuff for Playful Corp. And today I'm here with Dan Hurd, the director of Super Lucky's Tale.
Hello, how's it going?
So after months of begging and pleading, I finally talked Dan into joining a live stream about Super Lucky's Tale.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm joking. He and his team have been incredibly busy working on the game.
I don't know what you're talking about.
So, but we wanted to take some time before the game launches here in just a few short weeks to talk about, to just kind of hang out with you fans. We're super glad that you guys are excited about the game. We wanted to talk about kind of our journey, and just hang out with you, and share a little bit of maybe behind the scenes flavor on the game.
Sure.
We will probably take a bunch of your questions toward the end, but I've got them right here. So if you guys have any interesting ones that pop out to me beforehand, I will try to call them out. So Dan, do you want to just kind of give us maybe like a high level of what it's been like to work on and make Super Lucky's Tale?
Sure. So it's a big kind of orchestrated effort, and we've been working on the game for about 16 months, and we're currently partnered with Microsoft to release it on the Xbox family devices and Windows 10 PCs. So we're really excited. The team, like Dave mentioned, we have been really hard at work trying to just tie it all together, and there's that moment where you have just everything in the world laid out in front of you, and the biggest challenge becomes how to fit it together in a way that plays up the most delightful elements and but flows really well from beginning to end. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been tightening up all the different pieces, rearranging pieces where that felt right, cutting stuff that didn't make sense, adding new stuff that really is played, that's tons of fun and played forward. And we've been heads down doing that for the last couple of months now, and so the team is now, myself included, we're super pumped, really excited. We're very close now to when the game hits the stores and the digital stores, and we just absolutely can't wait to see what everyone thinks of it, and we just can't wait to hear stories of people playing and what they discover and the time that they had with the game.
Yeah. It's been really awesome watching you guys work. We just have like, I feel like I can brag because I'm not a developer and I have zero game making talent. These guys are just like world-class game developers, and we have a lot of really talented folks, artists, designers, engineers, sound guys, and working with Microsoft has also just been fantastic, and together I think we've come up with something really special.
Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, especially with a game like this, is the original Lucky's Tale was formed just kind of out of our love for games like this, this character action platforming adventure game. We have very strong emotional connections between here's the launch of something new hardware, a new console, something like that, and then there's this game we get to play that you get to go to a new fantasy world and play and just get lost in it, right? It's not crushing you down with difficulty, but it is challenging. There are puzzles, and it's just a lighthearted way to kind of intro a new system, a new piece of hardware. And so that really was how the original Lucky's Tale was born. And then with Super Lucky's Tale, we wanted to revisit that formula and say, okay, we were pushing forward all these elements with VR and things like that, and now let's focus on making the game itself and take another huge step forward and make it even more delightful and more fun to control Lucky, with more nuanced design, more levels, more everything, but also to go as wide as we could, to reach as many people as possible. We got a lot of requests like, hey, well, when will this title be available on consoles or things like that? And with the first one, we were on PC, so I know we're really excited to kind of hit all all the Xboxes there, and that's a huge reach, and that's really exciting because we get even more feedback when we do that, right? And the team is just like I said, we're extremely excited about getting people's real reactions to this. We've already taken it to a few shows and showed the demo and had people play through it, and that was really positively received. And so we're just we're excited and pumped.
Absolutely, definitely. I've been to some of those shows, and just the enthusiasm people have, the smile on people's faces is, I never get tired of seeing that. So, yeah, I think that'll just increase and magnify as when people see people playing it out in the wild when it launches.
Yeah,
so as you hinted, Dan, Lucky is not a new character for us.
Right.
Do you want to tell us the tale of how Lucky came to be?
Sure. So at Playful, one of the big things that we love to focus on, and it intrigues us across all our development, we have multiple games in development right now. Lucky's Tale and Super Lucky's Tale, just one of those. The thing that really intrigues us is where interesting hardware and software meet. So the first Lucky's Tale was born out of our excitement about what the promise of VR was, and we saw brand new hardware that really let us feel like there was a very strong connection to the worlds that we're portraying in the video game. Right? You can sit on your couch, you can watch it on a TV, and it is immersive. But in the Rift, you can slip that on, and suddenly the ability to lean in, to look all the way around, and to kind of connect to elements in the game like that really made for an experience that we had never encountered before. And in a lot of ways, we had done tons of prototyping before we came up with what was eventually Lucky's Tale. But the thing that drew us in the most, that made that game a reality, was an early prototype that was like, hey, what if we took like a Mario style level, we used blocks, we used everything, and we said like, okay, let's just put some sort of little platformy game in there, and let's see how that played. And the moment you could tilt your head and look at the level stretching in front of you, and knew exactly where your character was in 3D space, I mean, that was the moment we said, this is like hardware catching up to where software has been now for many years. And now I can really time where my jumps go and place them in space. And so that's how Lucky's Tale was born, was we took that framework and we said, okay, now we want to layer on a beautiful world, a fun, engaging character, lots of silly enemies, lots of delightful interactions, which I think Playful is kind of uniquely able to channel it at times. They were really good at teams, I think, of being able to kind of express that maybe non-ironic joy and silliness there. And so we tried to layer as much as possible into the original Lucky's Tale, and I think what came out of that was something that felt like I had a stronger connection to Lucky, this character, than maybe I'd had to other platforming characters, because I could lean in and he'd wave at you, and you could hunt down hidden coins by looking around and stuff. And so that's what made that whole thing click for us, was it's a connection to a space that previously I was only able to kind of keep at arm's length, and now I could actually physically explore those spaces with Lucky, and it felt like a journey together rather than, oh, it's Lucky's journey, right?
Yeah, I love the first game. It really is pretty magical. But one of the joys over the past year for me has been watching the way you guys have taken that original game and just done a phenomenal job of making it super. Just completely leveling it up. The art, the sound, the music, the characters, the story. I mean, we'll get into that, but there's just so much more going on. So we thought it might be fun to go back and play a little bit of the first game and then compare it to what we've come up with for the new game. So we have the first Lucky's Tale.
Sure.
Dan Hurd's going to throw on the headset and play through the first level.
It has been a while, so let's see how I do.
Let's see how your skills hold up.
You get to see my my headset here.
All right, we are switching over, and there we are.
Cool. Let me reset it. Okay. So, yeah, one of the first things we wanted to do with the original Lucky's Tale was, I think the game is kind of best expressed as like these little dioramas that all full of life. They cradle you as a viewer, right? And then the first thing that you see is like, oh, here's Lucky, and he's playing ball with his friend Piggy, who is a little piggy bank character. And one of the things I ended up doing in this game a lot was once we built this space, it's kind of the best sort of gateway that I can think of. There's like leaves falling from the trees, there's little fireflies around, there's tons of motion and movement, fish swimming in the water, and you can really lean in and get the detail of all the different plants and characters, and it's just a good cradle to, like, even before you start playing, it just feels fun and exciting, and many new time Rift users are like just putting them into the scene and just having them kind of spend time getting acquainted with kind of the power of the hardware, but also just with this world. We'll say.
So just to confirm for you folks who are just joining us, this is the first Lucky's Tale game that came out for the Oculus Rift.
Right. We're going to keep repeating this. This is the first one. This is not Super Lucky's Tale.
This is not the game you are all hoping to buy on November 7th. This game is already out. You can play it right now on the Oculus Rift.
So yeah, what we're doing is we're telling the story of Lucky and Piggy, and the evil Glorp has crept in and stolen poor Piggy from his sleep. Oh, that's a shame. The cool thing about this scene that I really like is that there's just a lot of small details. There's a fish in a bowl, and there's steam flowing out of the vents, and you can actually knock around some of the elements with your head. I'm kind of constrained on space here, but you can really get in and...
Yeah, you don't want to crash into my desk.
I don't. I mean, I might, but I don't think I will today. So it's got a narrator in the background, so it's kind of fun leading you through this journey.
And it's time to play.
You just get a little glimpse of Lucky's room. I'd love to bring this back, like just have a moment where we're in Lucky's house again. It's a fun space to explore. There he is. Hi, Lucky. So he looks at you, and that's a huge piece of this type of game. One of the things we discovered that was really helpful was you could really tell where Lucky's looking. He's looking at me right now. He's found something interesting. What is that? Oh, it's hidden diamonds. And it's controlled. These diamonds were revealed by where you're looking. So you can kind of hunt with your goggles, and suddenly you see, oh, there's like a shimmery predator-looking sort of thing here. And that's a hidden secret, and there's tons of these in the world. Each butterfly is a coin. As many things possible react to you. I'm trying to get used to these. Lucky's Tale 1 controls are slightly different than 2.
You're getting all the coins.
Yeah, I'm going to try also to keep my head steady so that you guys don't have the worst possible vantage point. Here's a Weeble Wobble. Why? Because Weeble Wobbles are amazing.
They are.
And you hit them. And
Every game needs one.
I think so.
I mean, Dark Souls would have been so much better with Weeble Wobble.
Dark Souls Weeble Wobble version is, I think, maybe the pinnacle of what that series can achieve. And this is, and now it's out of diamonds, and so it gives you these very annoying little birds that scream until you dunk them in the water. See you later. But this really hints at the core of, I think, what's fun about gaming and making games in general. It's like, why Weeble Wobble? Like, you could try and design it out, and say, well, from a design perspective, a Weeble Wobble, blah blah. But ultimately, it reacts in a kind of a fun, physical toy sort of way, and I think that's actually a really big deal, especially in games. Like, these are fantasy environments, but you look for kind of fun and interesting ways to interact in these worlds, and one of those is you can kind of expect certain things to happen. Like, I run through grass and it wiggles and there's secrets inside, and when I knock something around like a toy like that, it's very satisfying, especially in VR. It really plays up well. It's fun to smash crates, it's fun to do things like that, and I think that's part of the appeal of kind of character platformers like this. It's like, how does the world react to me, and what are all the fun things I get to do?
And there's a lot of fun stuff too in this, especially in this first area. We just, we have the balls there. We have all this hidden stuff.
I know where all of it is.
Because you put it there.
I put it there, but yeah, that's one of the things too. Is I think this game really, if you're searching for high scores and trying to get a lot of the secrets, they're really everywhere. And the fun thing that I like is that because we have this sort of free-form head-look motion, it's very intuitive to hunt for secrets because it's the same action. Like, where could a secret be? And then it reveals itself to you. I think that's pretty fun, and that's something I haven't experienced before.
So we're going in a foxhole.
Yeah, this isn't a part that
foxholes.
translates very well in like a 2D presentation, because one of the coolest things about a foxhole is we're playing with scale here, and specifically we're playing with interpupillary distance, which is a measurement kind of basically from pupil to pupil in your headset. And when you play with that, you kind of mimic what it might be like. So if you can imagine your eyes being further apart, what that actually does is it makes you feel like a giant. And when your eyes are closer together, it makes you feel like you're really small and the environment is really large around you. So in this particular scene, here's that kind of being able to look all the way down the level, like I mentioned. It's pretty neat, and you can plan your moves that way, but we tweak the IPD in these scenes to make you feel like you were very large, and Lucky was a tiny little toy. And so in the main game, we actually have that value tweaked as well, where Lucky appears to be about maybe a foot high, maybe just under that, like a little stuffed animal. And then in the foxholes, everything looks like a scale model. It's a very delightful kind of unique feeling that I've never felt before in a game, simply because that feeling of being giant doesn't translate as well in the 2D space.
What was that like? Because I know you guys initially had the character was life size, right?
Yeah, so here's an interesting thing. When your character is life size, suddenly I see this giant fox sitting here, and it's a little fight or flight for me. I'm like, he's terrifying, because he's huge, and his proportions, look at him. He's got a big head, he's got a big tail, big hands, but when this is large, you start lumping it, I think, into this idea of he's a humanoid character. He's my equal, and when that happens, then those proportions get really, really gigantic. His head gets enormous, and it just doesn't feel as silly. It feels ominous a little bit to have characters that large, and but even harder than that is the levels. When Lucky gets big, that means we're scaling up everything, and the levels get so large. Like that was one of our initial thoughts. We thought, hey, if you're platforming, then aren't you doing the jumping, and aren't you climbing these platforms? And what we quickly realized was that when a platform's that large, it takes forever to get across it, and you can't see what's on top of stuff. I mean, if you can imagine you were climbing platforms, you really would be looking straight up and trying to see, I don't know what's up there, and it just takes forever to move. And so
it's almost like you'd have to get a ladder to climb up and see what's over the hill.
Yeah, and so in this case, everything is shrunken down to where you feel like a giant, but it's a very appropriate, I think, movement and visual style, where you have this wonderful kind of balance between, this is one of my favorite areas, it's just this foxhole, it's got this water here, the little jiggly thing that you can jump on, lily pad, and you can kind of see all this life under the water. It's a very compelling look.
Reminds me of Jello.
Yeah, it's kind of like Jello water. It's really cool. But yeah, so the world is kind of shrunken down a bit, and now there's a couple benefits for that. One is the camera doesn't move as much, which is something that I found a present. Yay! The presents are these little collectibles that you can find, and they're just fun things they're like little statues and a bit of story that you get. So yeah, it smooths out the camera motion when you don't have to travel as far, and that actually helps comfort a lot, which is a big VR consideration. Like you're moving and you don't want to get someone sick, but you do want to enable them to. Here's a fun thing. Let's see if I can do it. Come on over here, fish. You don't want to get people sick. There it is.
Oh, you caught it.
Yeah.
I did not know you could do that. That's awesome.
You can headbutt fish, which is another design pillar of the original Lucky's Tale. You must be able to headbutt a fish.
I think that was on the, if we had a box, that would have been on the box, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think we consciously did not have a box game because they would not put headbutting a fish on it. So we said then we don't want the box.
Yep. No, can't have a box without that.
Yeah.
One of the interesting things that I want to call out, and to remind folks who are joining us, this is the original Lucky's Tale game, is the art style. You guys made a conscious decision to not use textures, to build, actually physically, hand paint all of the geometry. I mean, there's a tiny bit of shading here and there, but for the most part, you guys are relying on geometry rather than textures.
That's a kind of a core tenet that we discovered for VR in general, which is there's something that happens when you take I think a traditionally modeled and textured game and you put it into virtual reality. Your brain's no longer fooled by things like normal maps in the same way it was before, when you don't actually have real depth information to go off of. But when you do, the best example I typically give is if I put a rock in the game and I did my normal development on it, so you would model it out and then you would put a normal that looked like it had some cracks and stuff in it. But when it's in VR, you suddenly realize that it looks like a rock with a picture of a rock kind of taped to it. It doesn't look correct, and your eyes don't believe it. So what we ended up doing here is we went with vertex color for the most part, and so boards in the sign, for instance, are actually modeled out. The grass, it's all kind of simple color, but with a high degree of geometric detail, so I can see the hole in the tree, the cracks are modeled in the rocks, and when you run a really good lighting pass on that, then suddenly your brain, it clicks again, and you feel like, hey, this is a real rock, this is a real sign. Sorry, I'm just going around bombing those guys from a far distance, but there we go. And so that's one of the big key pieces, I think, in believing that you're in this world, is that everything is shaped and modeled. And you can, here's another thing you do. You can hit these lights with your head. Oh, and I got hit by the bee by doing that.
Have you leaned into Lucky yet?
Let's see. Hey, Lucky. How's it going, buddy? Hey.
That's one of my favorite moments.
Yeah, he has a lot of, let's see if we can get some more. He's got, he knows what you're doing, so he can respond to you leaning in, and that's that, like Dave said, that's one of our favorite moments. It's like, lean in, hi, hey man, how's it going?
Lucky cares.
He cares.
He knows you. He knows your name.
He wrote me a note on my birthday. He really cares. And it's meaningful to me.
Yep. And so if you guys tuned into Xbox's stream this morning, you probably saw the hot air balloon thing that they were doing, which was awesome. This is the inspiration for that.
Yeah.
The way we end each level is you grab, the rope off of a balloon and you fly up in the sky.
See you, Lucky. Cool. So anyway, that's a little glimpse of the first Lucky's Tale there. That's our...
You showed folks the diorama too, right?
Oh yeah, so this is a good thing to check out too. So this is our... we navigate with this book. You can float in and out. You can kind of go back to the story. There's several modes in each level, so you can go back through, and there's a time trial mode and then like a hidden coin mode, which is fun. But the dioramas are an example of that scaling I was talking about earlier, where we took everything and we shrunk it down even more. So I feel like a giant, and these things feel like the tiny little model, but you just really get this amazing moment where you can look into things and lean, and it's the perfect little tranquil setting to be in, and I just love it. And these are some pieces that are kind of indelibly tied to that VR experience. But I think it's a really nice way to take this joy and these things that we discovered with this and then apply them to our newest game.
Yeah. I think one of the things that that's hard to convey about the first game is just how amazing it looks when you have that headset on versus looking at it on a flat screen like everyone watching
that's
was.
right.
It, you know, it just, there's
Here's
something
my
so special. Yeah, you got the rift marks.
Yeah.
There's something so special about being in there in virtual reality versus
That's true.
just looking on the flat screen.
And so, I mean, we're talking a lot about the hardware implications of that, but, you know, I think some of the things we learned, and in a way, the Lucky's Tale series, this has been about, like, it's almost like a diary of our team, kind of to the rest of the world. It's like this publicly viewable diary where, in that title, the first thing we were concerned about was, okay, what makes a fun IP? What makes a fun character? What makes a delightful world? And how do we kind of make that indelibly a function of the hardware that we're using? And I think Lucky's Tale was very successful in that regard. I felt like it was this great ambassador game. You get in, you can play. It wasn't the most difficult thing in the world, but it was fun. It was delightful, and anybody could play it. So there were several of those main lessons that we took from that informed our development and the opportunity for the second Lucky's Tale, for Super Lucky's Tale.
Right.
And with Microsoft, they saw, you know, kind of based in that earlier game and in some of the prototypes that we had, they met us with that vision and they said, we understand your vision, we believe in it too, we would love to help you make that a reality. And so we partnered with them, and Super Lucky's Tale was born, and this is, in that diary, this is our next page, right? And we've taken that core experience and we wanted to embellish it, but tighten it up in several ways. We wanted to, and then with this hardware set, you know, especially like on the One X, you've got 4K visuals running at 60 hertz, which is really difficult to do. It was very difficult for us, but the benefit of that is the smooth refresh rate, the smooth frame rate is amazing, and when precision counts and you're moving around and really making these life or death decisions as you jump around, it's really hard to go back to other formats for that. And so the other big thing that was exciting about us is this allows us to go wide and share Lucky with as many people as possible.
There's going to be a lot more Xbox One X's out there than virtual reality.
Well, for sure, and even across the whole system of devices, right? Like Lucky's Tale runs great on all of them, and we wanted to have everybody have a chance, and it's competitively priced, $29.99, and we thought that's the perfect entry point. If I'm dropping a load of cash on a new console, I think that's a good value, you know, just for a fun time that I get to have if my kids want to play. But, you know, one thing I like to underline here is we at Playful, we're interested in making games for everybody. Sometimes that means that can mean, hey, this game is specifically for kids, but that's not what we're doing. And we actually want it to be for everyone. We want IP that endures, that's just silly and delightful, and I think everybody can appreciate that. And then the gameplay itself, we wanted to fold in a lot of different challenges. Some levels are definitely harder than others. Some rely on kind of puzzle-solving elements. Some rely on secret hunting elements. Some rely on platforming skills and precision jumping. So we wanted to fold those all in. So if you're a seasoned gamer, there's stuff to dig into, and it's really fun. And if you're a new gamer, it's very easy to get into. The actual like language of button input is not complicated. We're not Metal Gear Soliding 2 here. You know, it's not every button has multiple functions and shift functions and stuff. No, it's grab the controller. You can figure out the controls very easily.
Anyone can sit down and figure it out.
Exactly, but that's not, you know, complexity of control doesn't mean that the game itself does not have depth. And I believe the game has a lot of depth that is achieved through simple controls, kind of artfully applied. And so we have Super Lucky's Tale as a result of that.
Well, so speaking of depth, I think that's one thing you guys really added to this new game is you found a lot of ways to add depth to just, you know, I mean, there's a lot of complexity in the first one, but you have really kind of layered that and packed in more with more mechanics, different style of a bunch of different styles of platformers, you know, all sorts of depth in a lot of ways. And so now that you guys have just watched us play through the original game, we thought it would be kind of a cool moment to switch over to the demo that we debuted at E3. And you guys can see just how much has changed, just in the art, in the mechanics. Dan will show you those, and it just looks and plays great. It is running at 60 frames a second here on the stream. Unfortunately, Twitch does not support 4K. I know Mixer does, but we wanted to kind of reach out to both of our channels.
Yeah.
So
You can trust us; it's pretty.
It looks great at 4K. We're playing it at 1080p today. But do you want to go ahead and switch over?
Sure, let's do it.
All right, let me do that here. Okay.
Cool. All right, so this is our intro area here, Super Lucky's Tale. Lucky himself has gotten a little bit of a facelift. I think he's even cuter than before. I really like his new look. It's subtly different, but we spent a lot of time on shaping the face and his proportions a little bit more, and I think he's a real cute little dude here. And so you can zoom in and look around. And so, the core principles of the game are not incredibly different. If you played a character platformer before, you kind of understand what's going on here. So there's a story which is about this brand new series of villains we've created for this title. It's the lead bad guy is a giant kitty cat named Jinx. And he has stolen the Book of Ages, which is this magical book that you can hop in between worlds. And Lucky and his sister Lyra, you meet her through the story, are Lucky is thrust into the worlds of the books, trying to liberate them from the evil kitty litter, which is Jinx's family, all of his kids. He's told them to do evil, go into these worlds and do bad things, and they don't really quite understand it fully, but they're here just trying to stop Lucky. And so your task is to kick them all out of these worlds to liberate the races that are all here. So
are they truly evil, or would you call them maybe more comically misguided?
I think they're mischievous. I don't think that they're evil. They maybe are told to do evil by their father, but they're kids. They can't really get into it. They're kind of selfish. They're more interested in their own things. So Lucky is tasked with basically defeating them, getting through all their puzzles and levels, unlocking all these doors that were sealed by Jinx, and ultimately liberating each world from the kitty litter's influence. So one thing you'll see me doing here is this is our burrow move, and it's one of the biggest kind of changes to Lucky's kit, pun intended, from the first game, which is that we wanted one of the biggest moments of delight in a platformer is, I think, that just a sense of control and the way that the player kind of responds to your input. And so even since this demo, now this demo is actually several months old now, so the improvements on top of this are pretty incredible.
In fact, we have a few moments of footage from the final game that we'll show at the end of this stream, so you guys can.
Yeah. So in the current game, he's even more responsive. But one of the big things we wanted to build was this kind of like joy in movement. So we have joy in world, joy in characters, and now joy in movement. So and we're kind of inspired by this almost like dolphining moment you can do here, and you get a little bit of a speed burst when you burrow around, and there's secrets inside the ground that you can find by burrowing. And so that term that Dave used earlier, the playground platformer, it's more of a guiding light for us rather than it is some giant distinction like new genre or something. It's not as big as that, but what it is this focusing set of things that are important to us, which is I want to be able to create some beautiful spaces, and then I want to fulfill that promise of, and you get to go jump all around it, and you get to find and explore it, spend your time. The quests, some lead you on, and some let you kind of breathe and relax. And then there's a lot of environments of different types of puzzles that say, hey, stick around for a while. And so we have some characters too. There's dialogue in this game. Lucky's Tale 1 doesn't even have any. This is one of the kitty litter, so this is Master Mittens. And
people are hearing the meows right now.
Oh, they're hearing the meows. He's a follower. He's of the Mushu arts, and he studies at the Miaolin Temple. Very important to know your Master Mittens trivia. And he could just destroy you outright, he thinks, but it's more fun and more following the Mushu code to set you through several challenges first.
A series of gauntlets.
Yeah, and so he has busted up these golems here, who are the residents of the Sky Castle Islands, and he's broken their bodies, and now they're just heads. So they say, well, if you can bring my head to my body, then I can help open the way for you. And your first challenge is to bring them here and wake up the great Golem beyond by channeling their magic powers. But they can only do it when they're reunited with their bodies, and so therein lies the challenge.
Yep.
So Papa's still sleeping. Okay.
So somebody called out in chat, speaking of which, we are looking at chat, that the owls are back from the first game, and they were very excited to see that.
I love the owls.
Who else is back?
Hopper here. So here's Hopper. He's a little ball. He's a vaguely frog-like ball.
Yeah,
and,
he was in the swamp level.
He's got this big frown on his face, and I just love him. He's so derpy and weird, and you can derp him around a little bit. And that's kind of one of the big things here, which is like, hey, how can I make these little things react to me in fun ways? And so derping, hitting them and letting them just kind of flail about is a ton of fun. And you're a fox. I mean, you're here to kick some static and to explore these worlds fully. Timed trials are back here.
If you guys caught it, there's another character that is back, Buzzkill. So you guys, for those of you who played the first game, there's a lot of new characters in this one, but we did bring back some familiar faces besides Lucky.
Yeah, I think it's when one of the characters is just doing a really great job, and like the owls, like the Buzzkill, and I want to revisit them some more. What else can they do? How can their uses evolve? Excuse me. These are burrow cages, so you have to burrow underneath to get to them, and you can also use them as platforms, which are kind of fun. Yep, I know where the secrets are.
Secret coin.
Yeah. And so for this game, one of the big pieces too is we wanted to really up the visual fidelity, make the world feel almost like painterly and pastel. Sky Castle is particularly good at that, and that's kind of its set, is this more nuanced painterly style, the little wind swooshes and stuff. But each world has a very distinct difference.
The grass moves as you run through it.
Yeah.
And I love how just the art style in general. Looking at this in 60 frames a second, and especially on the 4K version, it's just so crisp. And the fire looks great. The lighting looks great.
I've been flattened.
Here's another familiar face.
This is Wild Weed, but now he's amplified. He's a giant boss now.
They took steroids.
Yeah, so this is, they took a, root stimulator. So, yeah, one of the big things we wanted to do too was kind of build more like little surprise arenas, little secret areas to jump into, and Master Mitten set up a little ambush for you here. But again, yeah, like I'm playing and I'm just like, oh wow, this is a very different feeling in the game that we have currently that you guys will get to see on November 7th. But still, it gives you kind of a rough idea of where we're headed with these certain things. These little fun balloons will hop you around. You can tail swipe some of that. We've got some fun secrets there. I know I missed that coin in the chain. I'm really upset about that.
I'm sure somebody's really bothered by that.
I know. I just let it go casually. I'm like, I didn't want that anyway, but I kind of wanted it, and I'm sad that I didn't get it.
Doesn't everybody want every collectible? I mean,
I think so.
Really, they do.
Which is why you can go to ThinkGeek and buy all these things, right? It's like you just gotta have every collectible, and it has an unfortunate impact on our lives and our well-being and our wallets.
Somebody said you missed a coin.
Sorry, I can't. I just can't. I played this game just so much, and I know all the coins. Secret. Look at this secret.
You're about to do the secret puzzle.
The secret puzzle. Here's this hoppers. Get out of here. Get out of here. Get off of me.
Poor hoppers.
But I like to think of them as not falling to their deaths, but they fall to be respawned somewhere else. They're never present hopper in a world that lives forever.
There's only 3 of them in the game at a time. They're just respawning.
They go to a farm, a hopper farm, and they live there, happily ever after. When you drop them off, but if you fall off, you die. But hoppers, they live fulfilling lives.
They have special magical protection.
So with these sort of things, here's one of the things. This is one of the simplest sliding block puzzles we put into this game, but we really like this idea of like knocking these big statues around, and when you get them onto these goals, and the statues light up, and when you get them all there, hooray! It's party time. You get all your cool collectibles.
Speaking of collectibles,
They get devious though. They get really devious. That one is super simple. There are some that I've been sitting there and I'm like, I thought I remembered how to do it, and it's like 15 minutes of an additional like high brain power. They are optional, but they do give you clovers, which is your method of unlocking most of the things in the game. You earn clovers along the way.
Yeah, that's like the key collectible in the game.
Uh-huh.
So I'll give you a little preview of it here.
Get off of me. Oh, he got me.
Yep.
All right, I think I found the third head here.
You did it. I was a little worried for a moment there, but
I know. What if I forgot exactly how to do it? I don't know what I would do.
yeah.
I guess we would have to just destroy the stream immediately. Log off in shame. Okay, so this should be all the Golem mystical energy we need to bring Big Golem to life. So let's see what happens.
Is he friendly or is he to be feared?
What do you think?
Well, unfortunately, I already know the answer, but I like to think
I don't think you
mystery
can
here-
know the answer. I think I fear and friend him. I think he's both to me.
Yep.
He might try to hug me, utterly destroying me, right? And I think that's where the fear comes in. But it also would be nice to get a Golem hug. So
But the intention, you have to look at the intentions, and
Right.
and he's I like to think he's a friendly guy,
yeah, I mean, we
even
all
though he might accidentally squash you. Like
exactly.
Ray.
We're all mortal here. So, but if I had to go by being squeezed to death by a gigantic Golem in a friendly hug, I think that's not a bad way.
Yep. Mittens is up his game. You're about to enter a bit more of a challenging zone.
So, unexpectedly, he has destroyed the body of this golem here, and now we're in a final gauntlet level. So, when you have a golem head, it's too heavy for you to jump. So, you're kind of lugging this guy around. You got to get him to his body on the top floor. And I've played this about 1 million times, but so then that'll also amp
And I've
up
watched
the.
people play it about 1 million times.
Yeah, I've amped up the pressure for me to do a decent job here, but
Yeah. You better not get hit by a fireball.
right.
Fireball.
Exactly. I'm going to try not to get hit by a fireball. Whoa. But we're climbing up the ranks here and getting a little bit of good old-fashioned coin goodness while we're doing this. Oh, I am down to 1 heart, however. That's terrifying.
So someone in the chat, Mixer chat, has asked about the red coin mode. They were asking if clovers have replaced the red coin mode.
Yeah, so the red coin... Oh, no, I forgot these guys are still in here.
Yeah.
We took them out because this is getting intense. Get off of me!
I hate those guys.
The red coin mode was something that was pretty specific to the first Lucky's Tale. We don't have it in the sequel. We do have a lot of other additional things, but we wanted to kind of spend our time with, like, I just love that type of mode in general. I like going into things and spending time to find a lot of secrets. There are lots of secrets in this game, but and I want to bring back a mode like that. So who knows what the future holds, but I really think that if we were going to go forward with that, I'd want to do it in an even more polished way. Better rewards for doing all of that, better indicators, things like that. And so we're buttoning it all up, and that was one of the things that still needed a little bit more work. So we held off for now. Who knows what the future holds, but it's one of the things that's a mode that's very dear to our hearts. So who knows if it doesn't appear in the future or future games, whatever, right? But it is one of our favorites, and we do remember it. This is Lord Emperor here, and he's been sitting up here for goodness knows how long, just waiting for a little fox to come along that he can try and unburn, as he says, because he doesn't want to scare you too much. But I think really he doesn't really mean that, and I think he's trying to really burn me.
Yep. How did he become a lord, by the way?
Well, it's a complicated feudal system, and embers, if they survive a certain amount of time, then they gain more and more mass, and then eventually they kind of katamari into something larger, and eventually you get one giant Ember Lord. And then their only role is to sit in a dungeon and wait for a specific fox to come along. Then they'll chase them to the end of that, and then they'll be trapped in the dungeon for the rest of their lives too.
Quite the journey.
Yeah, it's a short but satisfying journey for him. And we're through. And I'm still clinging on to that one heart, man.
Nice.
I mean,
No deaths in this stream.
There's all. I'm at one heart though. I mean, this is really scary for me.
I think you might get some help here in a minute.
There's all these secrets too, but I'm not gonna get cocky. I'm gonna just try and play through here.
Yeah.
All right, so we survived the gauntlet of fire, and Mittens has been training a side group of these golems, and now these are practitioners of the Mushu arts as well. And so we've got to get rid of them. Get out of here. Their heads will ping pong off of other ones.
Did he? Oh man.
Why?
It happened.
Why?
You have 10 lives or 11 lives. That's pretty good. I think you're going to be able to beat this.
We'll see. We'll see.
So, Master Mittens, with these rock golems, did he kind of persuade them to become followers of the Meowin way, or is it more of a zombie-like control thing?
It's more of a zombie-like control. If you'll notice, these little golems, they have bad colored eyes. Look at this, like hot pink eye. If I saw something with a pink eye like this, I would really avoid it. It's not a bad tip in life. Pink eye is not something to take lightly, and these guys have it, so I would avoid them, and I think they're being mind controlled, which is why it's okay to destroy them.
Yeah.
Because it's irreversible. I forgot to say that. Once they're mind controlled, it's bad, and you just got to clear them
They're
out.
forever mind controlled.
They're forever mind controlled, and they pollute a lot, and so you gotta just obliterate them because the environment will suffer.
They just need to become rocks.
They need to become back to rocks, and that's all you're doing is you're taking them back to nature, truly, and so. That's a big thing. That's a true hero. Yes.
So we have in the final game, we have a number of really fun boss battles that are kind of set up in this like arena style. What was it like to create those?
It's a trial and error process, as a lot of things are. One of the big pieces that we wanted to have was a nice contained area where you can play around a lot, but also not lose track of the action. So we wanted to kind of set up, and we took some of the lessons that we learned when making additional different arena encounters, and we tried to kind of funnel it all into where you get a good glimpse at what the boss is doing. We tie it to something, like Master Mittens is pretty fond of his little disciples here. We've got some crazy fireball patterns to avoid, and he's doing a little jig up there as he summons new ones. And so we wanted to kind of spend the time to get to know the kitty litter a little bit better and give them like a moment to shine. I've done it. I've defeated him, and he plummets to his death. No, he's back.
He's back.
He's fine. He's just a little. His attitude and his confidence is a little shaken. But he still says, I have a lot to learn in the arts of Meowlin, so I guess I'm going to keep learning. I vanish. And he does. And then Gollum
Until
says,
next
come
time.
with me. So one of the things you don't get to see here, this is how we are ending the demo. And so you jump on the Gollum's finger, and he thankfully does not misstep and smash me. He just
He
he's
doesn't
like,
hug
hey.
you to death.
He doesn't hug me to death, but he does wave, and he says, hey, I love you. And I love him too. So
He's done this kind of thing before, with little people on his fingers.
yes, it's smooth.
natural.
That piece of the rock is worn smooth by how many lovely characters he's brought up and cradled in a loving embrace. And so, but in the full game, you're actually collecting clovers. So each level you play through, there's a clover at the end, but you can earn actually up to 3 additional clovers per level, and those are all optional secret ones. So if you beat the level, you get a clover. If you get over 300 coins in the level, you'll get a clover. If you find there's one hidden clover in the level, that's a clover. And we have LUCKY, hidden collectibles throughout the level. And if you find the entire lucky word, then you also get a clover. So
there's a lot to do in each level and a lot of reason to go
right.
back.
There's a lot of reasons to go back, but even on a single pass, you can get all of them if you're very thorough. And then those clovers are used to unseal the locks that Jinx has placed on the boss doors. So you can break down those doors and then go fight the kitty litter behind them, or you can turn back into the levels and go and get even more clovers. We also have these statues that are in the main hubs. There's a giant hub. You didn't really get to see it here, but it connects all the worlds, and it's its own play space, which is really fun. And there's this statue in there. It's got a kitty litter on it, so you like, get that out of here. And you can basically, we don't spend clovers. You always accumulate them, but at certain thresholds, you can tear down the old statue and put new statues up. So you have enemies, and then eventually you get all the way. If you like perfect your clover count per hub, you can get a golden lucky statue sitting there. It's really cool. So they're used kind of for a couple different reasons.
Yep. You end up unlocking a bunch of hidden levels, and it's really cool. I love wandering through the hubs. I love all the different types of levels you guys have, and we actually have. If you guys watched the Microsoft Xbox's stream this morning, they showed a little bit of the gameplay. We're going to go ahead and show you that as well. This is the a glimpse at the final game, what it will look like when you play it on November 7th.
That's right. Yeah. So some newer footage captured. So it shows some very different worlds and some cool new stuff we haven't shown before. So yeah, we're really excited to show that off too.
Yeah, let's go ahead and switch over to that, and this will kind of give you an idea of like how much depth and variety we packed into the game. But let's click over and watch that.
So this is in the Veggie Village, inhabited by a race of characters called the Wormels, and they're a simple worm folk, and they're worms of the earth, and they need your help to get Tess, the evil inventor kitty, out of their worlds where she is seeking to optimize farm yields, and she's helping to build an army, the food to feed the army of her Papa Jinx. And so you help the Wormels. There's varied locations here. This one's about freeing these little pigs. They might look a little familiar to you. There's Wriggle has gotten an update.
Wriggle has gotten a pass.
He's
quite a pass.
He's a little, kind of a little bit more derpy. It's nice. And this one's a tough level, but we had these 2D levels, like what was once kind of a foxhole in Lucky's Tale 1, we built full levels out of them. So you can have much more precise platforming experience there. Some of those get pretty intense, but they're really fun. They've got their own secrets. There's kind of multiple layers you can warp between, lots of hidden secrets, and it's great because you can spend your time in one of these more open 3D worlds. It's a lot about playing and discovering and taking your time all the way through it. And then you get into this 2D level, and while there's a lot to explore, it's kind of this more kind of burn it down, get all the way to the end, and it's more a skill-based challenge, which is cool. It's fun to have kind of go between these different experiences.
Yep. And even more than that, we have levels where it's kind of like a hedge maze style where you're looking top down, and then there's that, there's other levels where it's like a marble game where Lucky's trapped in a ball.
Yeah, at some point Tess catches you and zaps you with the marbleizer, turning you into a marble, and now you are stuck in a marble maze, and you got to roll around and get all the coins while she records data to see how well you did. She usually anticipates that you're obliterated, but maybe you could prove her wrong.
Just a lot of cool stuff. So that's pretty much what we had, and I've been kind of watching chat. It looks like we've been answering the questions as they've come in. If you guys have any final questions, type them in now. There was one question.
Yeah, final questions. Like, you can't ask any more questions in your lives ever after this. So what's the last question you're going to ask?
So choose wisely. There was one question asked early on, and I kind of saved it, but somebody, when we were playing the first game, asked if Super Lucky's Tale is going to be on Windows Mixed Reality or some other virtual reality at some point.
This is a question we get a lot. And like I said, from the first game, we learned how to develop these types of platforming games in such a way where the levels play really nicely with kind of a cool fallout from that, especially going from VR to a flat screen experience, is that they're not predicated on you really manipulating a camera a lot to see where you're going. We have a lot of camera logic in there to help just kind of remove that chore out of our gameplay experience. And when we say we've opened up the game to be even more accessible to a lot of people, I think that's a huge component of that, which is it's like really fun and easy to get in and play, but it's not predicated on you kind of becoming some sort of camera master just to see where you're going. And so we built a lot of the things that informed how we built these levels for Super Lucky's Tale were built on that framework that we learned when we were making VR games. And we use the Unity engine, and so there's a lot of ability for that to go in that direction. However, Super Lucky's Tale is not a VR product at launch.
Right.
But VR is close to our hearts. It's something that we're really interested in, and we'll continue to keep thinking about it. And who knows what the future holds, but if that opportunity ever presents itself, that'd be something I know the team and I would be very excited to look at.
Yeah.
So the good is that this game is not, we wanted to really focus on our message here, which was here's the game fundamentals all leveled up. It's a bigger game, more robust game, lots of fun stuff, brand new characters, much more delight in that realm, shared as widely as we could. Those are our goals, and I think I believe that the game has shaped up really well to kind of achieve those goals, and who knows what the future holds.
Yeah, I'm excited by the possibility there. I mean, it's just such a rich world. Lucky's such a fun character, and the enthusiasm we've seen people and meet Lucky with is. I just feel like there's a bright future there, and so I know I can't wait to see how that kind of shapes up.
I mean, we hope so, and I know that every game developer kind of talks about this sort of stuff, but right. Just speaking for the team, as the team's proxy, I just wanted to say thanks for everybody who has followed or has commented or fed in their feedback into kind of what you've seen and what you've played, especially if you've come out and visited us at E3 or at Gamescom, any of the places where we showed Lucky's Tale. That feedback directly has influenced the types of things that we put in here. Yep. We run user testing to make sure that if something is really difficult and hard to understand, that we tweak it to make it more fun and more intuitive. And the game would not be what it is today without that level of feedback. And each game we make here at Playful, and I think specifically Super Lucky's Tale series, it is this love letter from the team to anybody who has any sort of nostalgic feelings about the kind of the immediate simplicity, but the good depth of this type of game. It's something we want to play. It's something we believe that there's a very large percentage of people that miss the last time they got to dig into one, and then a lot of us gamers, have gone on, had kids, and we're like, I sure would love to share that experience with them as well. And so that's why we're excited about Super Lucky's Tale. We want to kind of introduce this whole new generation to a type of game that we really loved, while still allowing the game to plant its own flag and to be a very unique entry in that, but that channels some of those good feelings that we had and some of that enjoyment. So just from the team to you, we want to say thanks for your attention and your thoughts and your excitement over the product, and I can't wait till we get to show it to you in just now it's a few scant weeks, really.
Yep. So because they used up their final questions that they ever get to ask in their life.
Yeah, that sucks for everybody,
really.
Really.
Folks have asked how long is the game, especially how long is it compared to the first game. Is that something we can talk about?
Sure. Yeah, so the first game, like we said, it was an ambassador title, and it was pretty simple. You could burn through it. The secret modes really, I think, added a lot. So if your intent was to kind of burn through the first game, you could do it pretty quickly, probably maybe somewhere in the neighborhood of 3 hours if you didn't really want to collect a lot of things. If you dug in, more than that, which was great. With this game, we wanted to go more than that, right? We had 16 months to develop it, so we also wanted to make sure that we were delivering really high-quality products. So we're looking at something in the neighborhood of probably like 5 to 8 hours, depending on how you want to play. I think an average playthrough will be somewhere in the middle of that. So that's something that we're happy with, and we think that that's a good amount of gameplay there. And we obviously want always to add more. So who knows what our future plans are for that? But I think that's where we ended, and we think that's a real fun 5 day.
So yeah, definitely bigger than the first game.
Yeah,
if you
for
played
sure.
the first game. So
I would say it's probably about twice as large in terms of content and playable space.
That's awesome. And then somebody asked about multiplayer, which we weren't able to do for this game, but
Right, it is a single player game. Multiplayer is something that we're really interested in as well, just at the studio level. And it's something that we always kind of have in our minds. And, we've seen a lot of multiplayer games that have done it really well. Some are tolerable and some are kind of, maybe it becomes more frustrating when you're playing multiplayer. So if we ever committed to something like that, we would really want to spend a lot of time just saying, like, how can we make that experience at its best when playing with multiple people, rather than just like, and it kind of lets two people play together, but it suffers for it.
Yeah. So we probably need more than the time we had for this game to do.
Yeah, that's that's an understatement. But I think it is something that we're really interested in at the studio level. So never say never.
So I think we will okay, this is actually a great question. Somebody asked if we will continue making platformer games, and we actually announced at the same E3 we announced Super Lucky's Tale, we announced Star Child, which is a sci-fi game that is also another platformer of sorts. It's a different kind of platformer than Super Lucky's Tale.
Yeah, it's more of an adventure game.
Own kind of platform.
Right. It's more of an adventure game. It's not necessarily an action platformer. It's like a puzzle heavy, kind of exploring style adventure game, and we're really excited about that game too. So can't wait to show more about it.
Yeah. One of these times, probably next year, we'll do some live streams for Star Child. But yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on here at Playful. We're super excited about all of it, and we can't wait for you guys to get your hands on it. So I think we've been going for a little over an hour. Why don't we go ahead and wrap up, and we'll probably stream again at some point down the road.
Sure.
But Dan, thank you so much for joining us and for just sharing your wisdom and your experience on the journey of making this game.
Well, I've got experience. How about that? No, it's been a pleasure. And like I said earlier, I would be remiss if I didn't say how much the team really thanks everybody and how hard they've worked. And really, it's because of the talent that I think we've been able to pull together in this team that this game had a chance of being put out in this way. And thanks for all the help on the Microsoft side as well. I think we just got lucky, and we got one of the best possible partner teams to work with, and they're every bit as invested in this title, in the soul of what makes Lucky's Tale as we were. And sometimes they'll even yank us and be like, what are you guys doing? It's not silly enough, or it's not delightful enough. And it's been just so helpful. And so just on behalf of the team, I wanted to say thanks to everybody, and thanks for sharing some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.
See ya.